You mentioned actually chronology, because if you look at actually our history, as in like in the itihasas and everything, they have mentioned actually the succession of kings until Rama, and from there actually we can see the succession from there. Even Mahabharata mentions from Rama how many kings were there, and they give a chronology of the kings that ruled the country and all that. And even further than that, we had an extensive chronology of the kings that ruled India, and we can get all the names. So how did they manage to destroy this chronology is first part of my question. And the second is, even though actually we had this illustrious history or wealth of history with us, they still managed to get their version of history superior over our own history, our own indigenous history. And even today, people would think the history wrote by the Europeans are the correct one than the ones actually we had here. How did they manage to do it?
See, as far as the time frame, you've mentioned that, the itihas. Itihas means as it happened. So millions of Hindus believe in the historicity of Lord Rama, and they also believe in the events which are discussed in detail in the Mahabharata. I think that, some attempts have been made to, study this. But I think for me as a historian, what is more relevant for the Indian civilizational journey is how these two epics became national epics, and there was no part of India they did not try to include itself in the national epics. So, every region would say, Ram came here, or our king contributed to the Mahabharat war. And in fact, Camille Bulke, in the colonial period, he tried to count how many versions of the Ramayana were there. You see, because in Tamil Nadu, you have an own version. Kamban was the person who wrote that version. So there is no part of India which does not have Ramayana in Bengali or Assamese or Oriya, whatever. So Father Camille Bulke, he counted 300 tellings of the Ramayana. So the chronology for me is really not that important as its role in binding everyone of this subcontinent together. So this is as far as Ramayana is concerned. 300 versions he found. Versions means that it was not diametrically opposite to the Ramayana that we know, but somebody would say that add their own local dimension to the Ramayana and tell it in their own language. The same was true of the Mahabharata. In fact, in the Pandya kingdom, there is an inscription that, as far as I recall, it's of the 10th century Common Era. And what I found fascinating about that inscription was that the king says, our region contributed to the Mahabharata war. We fed the armies of this group. So many millennia after the war is over, the kings are saying that, we contributed to the war because we fed the armies of this group. So that, it's there in the civilizational memory. And there is another inscription that is, it'll come to me where it is. It's there in a temple in South India, Southern India. And it says that, so many years have elapsed since the Great War. So that inscription says so many thousand years have elapsed since the Great War. So, for the people of the subcontinent, it was very much a part of their consciousness. And they're going on dating the war. When did it happen? The commonly accepted dating is that 3100 BC marked the death of Krishna. Now, this 3100 BC is such a widely accepted date that obviously something very important happened then. We don't know what happened, but every part of India says that Kali Yuga begins in 3100 BC with the death of Krishna. So that is another point. It's not the chronology of the kings, but how it remains a living, part of our living consciousness. And just third point, if I may, am I taking too much time?
Not at all. Not at all.
No, not at
Go
all,
ahead.
not at all.
Okay. So, I want to say something which your viewers should know about the spread of the Mahabharat epic. Now, in 1910, around 1910, Professor Suktankar, one of the most leading, Indologists of India, he and his team at the Bori, Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institution, they said we will prepare a critical edition of the Mahabharata. Because like the Ramayana, there are so many versions of the Mahabharata. So critical edition means that what is the core which is common to all editions of the Mahabharata? Whether it's in Tamil, whether it's in whatever. So what is that core? And that will be the critical edition, because that will be as close as possible to what Valmiki wrote. So they got manuscripts from all over North India, and they found that the Sharda manuscript was the closest, the shortest. The shortest will be the closest because it will have least scope for additions. You understand? So in the south, in southern India, they looked for they got many texts of the Mahabharata. In the Tamil region, it was so elaborate, it had become almost double the size of the northern this thing. So that means they were later editions. But they was shocked to know that the shortest edition came from Kerala. And they said, Kerala is so far from North India, the other extreme of India. So how did the shortest version, which will be as close as possible to the original, how did it reach Kerala? Then one scholar traced the journey of the Mahabharata. I'm giving this story, it doesn't answer your question directly, but it's very, very interesting. I found it very interesting. So this scholar discovered that around 500 BC, 500 Brahmin families migrated from Mathura region and went to the Tamil region. 500 Brahmin families, so that there would be no problem of marriage and all that, because all the goths would be represented. So they took with them the version of the Mahabharata that was current in Mathura when they left that and went to the Tamil region. So they stayed in the Tamil region till the 7th, 8th century. In the 7th, 8th century, an event occurred that is called the Kalbra interregnum. What it was, we really don't know, but we know the name. And then they migrated with the Mahabharata that they brought from Mathura, and they went to Kerala. And that version was frozen from the time it left Mathura till the time it reached Kerala. And who are these people? These are the Nambudri Brahmins. Can you imagine? And so, every bit of our civilizational journey is so fascinating that, I can go on and on, because it is, you have to feel the joy of discovering how our civilization, our history, all blended, and what a continuity it was. I think I've gone totally off track.
But it is a really fascinating story to hear. It will be really interesting to hear that, that the shortest version was from the south. I mean, I am from south, so
Yes.
Kerala.
Yes.
In Kerala, I too did.
Yes, Kerala.
Thank you so much. It was really interesting to know about that.